Florida, a sprawling modern city in the sun, a bustling metropolis that combines year-round living with natural beauty and all the joys of a Florida resort atmosphere. St. Pete, where living is carefree and the beaches make you feel younger than you are, where water sports are part of everyday life and produce a breed of adventurers who dare the demons of the seas. These lovely waters never beckoned a hardier crew than the ambitious 11 who decided to water ski from St. Petersburg to the New York World's Fair. The Bon Voyage party was held right on the beach with lots of well-wishers, including our mayor, Herman Goldner. Some probably came to get a close look at what they considered a bunch of scatterbrains, but others were quite warm with their farewells. Now, how does a 1,600-mile ski trip start? First, you christen the leader, and that's me, Jim Gray. Then you gather your supporters for good luck. Our mayor even skied a bit with us. Then you walk down to the water in the boats, put on your trusty skis, and you're off to the New York World's Fair. Frisky bunch as we started our 17-day marathon. For months, we had been trained to build up endurance and learn tricks for the shows we would present along the way and at the fair. So with the landmarks of the city fading behind, we headed down Tampa Bay and past the Sunshine Skyway with great expectations. St. Petersburg is about halfway down Florida's west coast, and we set our courses south down the inland waterway to Venice. We were ticking right along that first day and actually had time to tie up for a brief rest and a little primping before the first of our many ski shows. We were a bit nervous, but the show we really looked forward to was the one at the World's Fair. Around the bend, we swept into view, and our girl skiers looked pretty classy with their flags spelling out a friendly hello to the crowd on shore. Of course, the big purpose of our trip was to promote St. Petersburg as a young folks' town, so the presence of the photographers was most encouraging. We found there was always someone who thought we couldn't do it. The girls presented greetings from our mayor, and we were congratulating ourselves on a smooth job as we pulled out of Venice. We should have known things were too smooth. Out past the jetties lay the open Gulf of Mexico and the next leg of our trip. The open water tested the skill and stamina of our skiers and the sturdiness of our two Grady White boats. We knew more open water lay ahead, and if we made this leg in good shape, we could handle anything. The drivers often felt the skiers had the easier job. It was a hard, spine-jarring crossing, but when we reached the calmer waters and cruised by Fort Myers shrimp boats, we knew we had passed our first test with flying colors. The smooth river was welcome as we skied under Fort Myers' new bridge and along the Palm Line waterfront. It was a tired crew that pulled in for the night. Early next morning, it was time out for a prop change. Some members learned it's not all skiing. For more speed, we used a different pitched propeller. Soon, we were on our way again with our skiers out. We passed a dredge used to keep the Cross-State Canal open and discovered other traffic besides fair-bound water skiers as we went from the Gulf to the Atlantic Ocean via Big Lake Okeechobee. On the east shore, our Sinclair people were waiting to refuel us before we entered the locks to the St. Lucie Canal. We could always count on trucks to be waiting for us at every scheduled stop. Refueling over, we inched our way into the locks, which control the level of Lake Okeechobee. Only during the process of locking did we travel without our skiers behind the boats. Water rushed through the gates, and we were lowered and on our way again toward the Atlantic Inland Waterway through the St. Lucie Canal and River. This is a real fishing hotspot, and anglers both of human and bird variety were around. Where there's fish, there's pelicans. We've got lots of both in Florida. We pushed up the Atlantic side now to Francis Langford's Terrace Inn on Jensen Beach. It's a lovely place with every kind of service. It had been another long day, and we look forward to stretching our legs. Next morning, we shoved off into a beautiful Florida day. Prospects were excellent to make good mileage with fine weather and smooth water. It's a long 120 miles to New Smyrna and our afternoon ski show. We decided to use just one skier per boat to increase our speed because of the great distance. Today and tomorrow would be our longest and hardest legs. Speed was of prime importance. The first boat made it without a hitch. The crew of that boat, along with a very patient crowd and the ever-ready fuel truck, waited for the second boat and the ski show. Meanwhile, back down the waterway, trouble with a sheared pin had sidetracked half the show. Knowing people are waiting makes repairs seem twice as long. But finally, we are hitting on both Johnson 90s again. We hoped they knew we were coming, but the rules of the trip called for at least one skier out at all times. The driver gives it all skier and boat can take. Our show wasn't a matinee, it was a twilighter, but it did go on. At New Smyrna, we started our longest endurance run, over 200 miles. Our lunch stop was set for Jacksonville Beach, further up the Florida coastline. There was the fuel truck with a big welcome sign. Our skiers waited ashore for the ceremonies that included official greeters and, happily, members of the press. With all those photographers around, I made sure the girls looked their prettiest. On to our last Florida stop, almost 500 miles from home now. Fernandina is the site of Florida's most unusual tourist welcome station. This one was built just to accommodate Florida-bound yachts and water skiers bound for the New York World's Fair. It now looks like we'll make that 200 miles today. Two husky lads take over the skiing chores. Come on, fellas, speed up a little. Georgia, here we come. Not quite a third of the way, and we're feeling the strain. But tired bodies respond to what has become routine. Northward we go, performing show after show, to crowds both amused and amazed by the St. Petersburg water ski team headed for New York. Seeing everything from the water, the whole team developed a fondness for bridges, those instruments of man that hold both sides of the land together. From our magnificent Sunshine Skyway to railroad bridges that revolved, there were all kinds. flat ones that stood on one center leg, and centipedes with 100 massive concrete limbs. Some we went through. Some we went under. Some were tall, and some were short. When we weren't taking our ski turns, we had chores. As leader, I was communications chief. Our St. Petersburg Times assigned a skiing correspondent, and when not on skis, she wrote daily stories on our progress. Everyone, and I mean everyone, worked on costumes. And always there was someone out there skiing, sometimes just hanging on, sometimes making it look like a lark. Nothing to do, you rested anywhere you could. The girls decided the thing to do about wet, wind-blown hair was forget it. As seamstresses, our boys made good drivers. As we continued up the coast, it got colder, and skiers began using the wetsuits regularly, not just in bad weather. That's what I call ingenuity, at 30 miles per hour. Day by day, New York got closer. Norfolk was astern, and we played to crowds in the Chesapeake country. Press coverage continued to be good. Everyone loved our skiing kids. New York, and there she was, everyone's Miss America, the Statue of Liberty. It was a special thrill to give the famous lady our water skier salute. The minute we saw her, we knew we had arrived, that we had really done the impossible. Everybody rated a cheerful wave that day when the towers of Manhattan dwarfed our small boats. Carefully, we threaded our way through the heavy harbor traffic up the East River toward the fairgrounds. That sign told us we had reached the fair. We were anxious to do our show. But first, a meeting with the big city press. We were proud of our success and the publicity for our hometown, but we also knew many others played a part in our triumph. All those people who had faith in our ability to water ski an incredible 1,600 miles in 17 days. The big day, the big show, and how we showed it. Round and round we swirled on Meadow Lake beside the Florida Pavilion, giving the crowd something to cheer about. We even had a barefoot skier. And remember, they're all amateurs who until now skied just for the fun of it. The Adagio Act got a big hand. The climax was our beautiful pyramid. Skiing to the fair may have been a crazy stunt, but it's proved to the world St. Petersburg, Florida is a youthful, vibrant community and a haven for young and old alike.